The lights were dimmed in a private room at an undisclosed location in Washington, D.C. Two men sat across from each other, their conversation shielded from the world. One was the newly appointed FBI director, Kash Patel, a man known for his unwavering commitment to transparency and his relentless pursuit of truth. The other was Elon Musk, the tech billionaire who had transformed social media with his acquisition of X, formerly known as Twitter. What transpired in that room would send shockwaves through Silicon Valley, the halls of Congress, and every intelligence agency across the globe. This is the story nobody was supposed to know about. The Unlikely Alliance. December 2025. The political landscape was more fractured than ever. The Trump administration had made its mark with controversial appointments, and Kash Patel's elevation to FBI director was perhaps the most contentious of them all. Critics called him a partisan weapon. Supporters hailed him as a reformer who would finally drain the swamp. But everyone agreed on one thing: Patel was unpredictable. Elon Musk, meanwhile, had become more than just a tech entrepreneur. Since taking over X, he had positioned himself as a champion of free speech, often clashing with government agencies over content moderation, data privacy, and censorship. His platform had become the digital battleground where political wars were fought in real time. Nobody expected these two titans to join forces. The meeting wasn't scheduled on any official calendar. No press releases were issued. No staff members were briefed. Sources close to both men suggest it was arranged through back channels, with only a handful of trusted intermediaries aware of its existence. The secrecy alone was enough to raise alarm bells across Washington. What could possibly bring together the head of America's premier law enforcement agency and the world's most provocative tech mogul? The X-Files, a digital Pandora's box. To understand the gravity of this meeting, one must first understand what was at stake. X wasn't just a social media platform anymore. Under Musk's control, it had evolved into something far more powerful, a massive repository of human communication, behavioral patterns, and digital footprints. Every tweet, every direct message, every search query represented a data point that could be analyzed, tracked, and potentially weaponized. For years, intelligence agencies had struggled with a fundamental problem. Traditional surveillance methods were becoming obsolete in the age of encrypted communications and privacy-focused technology. Tech companies like Apple had built fortresses around user data, refusing government requests for backdoor access. But X was different. Musk had made it clear he believed in radical transparency, at least when it suited his narrative. Patel saw an opportunity. The FBI director had been conducting a quiet investigation into what he called the network, a sophisticated web of corruption, influence peddling, and information control that allegedly connected politicians, media outlets, and intelligence operatives. The investigation had hit numerous dead ends. Traditional investigative methods weren't enough. Witnesses were intimidated. Documents were destroyed. Digital trails were scrubbed clean. But on X, people talked. They bragged. They made mistakes. The platform was a gold mine of evidence if one knew where to look and had the tools to analyze it properly. Musk, for his part, had his own motivations. Despite his public persona as a free speech absolutist, he was pragmatic. The regulatory pressure on X was mounting. European Union authorities were threatening massive fines over content moderation failures. Advertisers were fleeing the platform amid controversies. And most concerning, there were whispers of antitrust investigations that could tear his empire apart. He needed protection, and Patel could offer it. The proposal. According to leaked accounts from individuals familiar with the discussion, Patel came to the meeting with a specific proposal. The FBI would gain limited access to X's data analytics tools, not to spy on ordinary Americans, but to track specific targets already under investigation. This wasn't about bulk data collection or mass surveillance. It was surgical, targeted, and ostensibly legal under existing national security statutes. In exchange, the FBI would provide X with advance warning of regulatory actions, help navigate the complex web of federal compliance requirements, and most critically, shield the platform from certain investigations that were being contemplated by other agencies. It was a devil's bargain, and both men knew it. Musk reportedly pushed back initially. "I didn't buy X to turn it into a government surveillance tool," he allegedly said. But Patel was persuasive. He painted a picture of a corrupted system where the real criminals weren't being prosecuted because they knew how to hide in the digital shadows. He spoke of human trafficking networks operating in plain sight, foreign influence operations, poisoning public discourse, and financial crimes that cost ordinary Americans billions. "You want to know why nobody trusts institutions anymore?" Patel reportedly asked. "Because the institutions have been captured by the very people they're supposed to investigate. This isn't about surveillance. This is about accountability." The argument resonated with Musk's self-perception as a disruptor fighting against entrenched power structures. Here was a chance to be on the side of justice, to use his platform for something beyond profit and influence. Or at least, that's how Patel framed it. The technical framework. What made this proposal particularly concerning to privacy advocates and civil liberties organizations, once rumors of the meeting began to surface, was the technical sophistication of what was being discussed. This wasn't about FBI agents manually searching through tweets. It was about artificial intelligence, pattern recognition, and predictive analytics operating at a scale previously unimaginable. X's algorithms already tracked user behavior with remarkable precision. They knew what you liked, who you followed, what times you were active, what topics engaged you, and how your online persona connected to countless others. The platform's recommendation engine was essentially a map of human attention and influence. Now imagine that power in the hands of law enforcement. Patel's team had apparently worked with data scientists to develop what they called anomaly detection protocols. These algorithms would scan for patterns consistent with criminal activity, sudden changes in communication patterns, connections between seemingly unrelated accounts, financial transactions disguised as ordinary social media activity, coded language used by criminal networks. The system would flag accounts for human review, not automatically arrest people. But the implications were staggering. Every joke, every sarcastic comment, every angry rant could potentially be fed into an algorithm looking for threatening behavior. Every private group chat could be analyzed for conspiracy patterns. Every financial tip shared between friends could be examined for insider trading. The line between security and authoritarianism had never seemed thinner. The leak. For weeks, the meeting remained secret. Patel returned to FBI headquarters and began assembling a small team to work on what was internally called Project Clarity. Musk, characteristically, tweeted cryptic messages about interesting conversations with interesting people and the future of digital accountability, but nothing specific enough to raise serious questions. Then someone talked. It's still unclear who leaked the story. Some speculate it was a disgruntled FBI agent alarmed by the constitutional implications. Others believe it was someone from X's leadership team who understood the reputational danger. A few conspiracy theorists insist it was a planned leak, designed to gauge public reaction before full implementation. Regardless of the source, the revelation exploded across social media with the irony that it happened on X itself. A respected journalist with a history of breaking intelligence stories posted a detailed thread describing the meeting, the proposal, and the potential ramifications. Within hours, it was the top trending topic globally. The reactions were predictably polarized. Supporters of Patel and the Trump administration celebrated what they saw as an innovative approach to fighting crime in the digital age. Finally, someone willing to use modern tools against modern criminals, one prominent conservative commentator wrote. Critics were apocalyptic in their warnings. This is the merger of corporate surveillance and state power, a civil liberties attorney tweeted. This is how democracies die in the 21st century. Musk's response was characteristically defiant. He posted a poll asking X users whether they supported tech companies cooperating with law enforcement to stop serious crimes. The poll was immediately brigaded by both sides, with accusations of bot manipulation flying in every direction. Patel remained silent, which only fueled more speculation. The Congressional response Congress moved quickly, though not necessarily effectively. The House Judiciary Committee announced emergency hearings. Both Patel and Musk were summoned to testify. The partisan divide was immediately apparent. Republican members of the committee generally supported the initiative, framing it as necessary innovation in law enforcement. The criminals are using 21st century technology, one congressman argued. Shouldn't our law enforcement have access to 21st century tools? Democratic members were split. Some, particularly those focused on national security, saw merit in targeted cooperation between tech platforms and law enforcement. Others, especially those with strong civil liberties records, were horrified. The most dramatic moment came during Patel's testimony. A Democratic congresswoman from California, known for her fierce advocacy of privacy rights, confronted him directly. "Director Patel, can you guarantee that this program won't be used to target political dissidents? Can you guarantee it won't be used to surveil journalists? Can you guarantee it won't be abused?" Patel's response was measured but telling. "Congresswoman, I can't guarantee that any government program will never be abused. What I can guarantee is that we've built safeguards, oversight mechanisms, and legal frameworks to minimize that risk. The question isn't whether we use these tools. The question is whether we use them responsibly." "That's not good enough," she shot back. "With respect, Congresswoman, it's the best answer you're going to get in a world where perfect security and perfect liberty are mutually exclusive." The exchange went viral, dissected by legal scholars and political commentators for days afterward. The technical rebellion. While politicians debated and pundits pontificated, something unexpected was happening in the tech community. Engineers and developers at X were quietly revolting. Several high-level employees reportedly threatened to resign if the program moved forward. Anonymous posts on forums like Blind and Hacker News revealed deep unease within the company. "I didn't sign up to build tools for the FBI," one engineer wrote. "I came to X because I believed in open communication, not because I wanted to be part of the surveillance state." The internal tension at X reflected a broader crisis in Silicon Valley. For years, tech companies had walked a tightrope between cooperating with law enforcement, protecting user privacy, and maintaining their own business interests. This proposal shattered any remaining pretense that these interests could be easily balanced. Some engineers began developing countermeasures. Open-source tools appeared on GitHub designed to detect whether accounts were being monitored under such a program. Privacy-focused alternatives to X saw a surge in users. Encrypted messaging apps reported unprecedented download numbers. The digital arms race was accelerating, and everyone knew it. The international dimension. As the domestic controversy raged, international implications became impossible to ignore. Foreign governments watched nervously. If the FBI could access X's data at this scale, what stopped other intelligence agencies from demanding similar access? What happened to the data of non-American users? The European Union's Commissioner for Justice issued a stern warning. Any surveillance program targeting EU citizens would be a direct violation of GDPR and would result in immediate legal action. Other privacy commissioners around the world echoed similar sentiments. China and Russia, meanwhile, used the controversy as propaganda gold. State media outlets ran extensive coverage portraying American tech companies as extensions of U.S. intelligence services. "See how American talk about freedom and privacy," one Russian news anchor said sarcastically, "while they build the most sophisticated surveillance system in history." The diplomatic fallout was real. Several allied nations privately communicated concerns to the State Department. Trust, already fragile in the post-Snowden era, was being further eroded. The Epstein connection. Then came the bombshell that nobody saw coming. An investigative journalist discovered that one of the primary motivations for Patel's push for X-access was related to the Epstein files. The late financier's network of powerful connections had long been the subject of speculation, conspiracy theories, and legitimate investigation. But prosecutions had been minimal, and many suspected that evidence was being suppressed to protect influential figures. Patel believed that the key to breaking open the case lay in social media communications. Not Epstein's own accounts, obviously, but those of his associates, friends, and the complex web of individuals connected to his operations. Traditional subpoenas had yielded little. People lawyered up, pleaded the fifth, or claimed ignorance. But on X, people talked to each other. They made plans. They referenced events. The algorithm could potentially map the entire network if given access to enough data and enough processing power. When this connection leaked, the political calculation changed dramatically. Suddenly, members of both parties who had been skeptical found themselves in a difficult position. Did they really want to be seen as obstructing an investigation into one of the most notorious criminal networks in recent history? The Epstein angle was brilliant politics, whether intentional or genuine. It reframed the entire debate. This wasn't just about abstract privacy concerns anymore. This was about bringing powerful predators to justice. Critics argued it was manipulation, using one legitimate concern to justify a much broader surveillance apparatus. Today it's Epstein, tomorrow it's political opponents, one senator warned. The middle ground. As weeks turned into months, the initial hysteria began to subside, replaced by exhausted negotiation. Neither side had won decisively. The program couldn't move forward in its original form. The political and legal opposition was too strong. But it also couldn't be abandoned entirely. Too many people now believed it was necessary. A compromise began to take shape. Instead of direct FBI access to X's systems, a third-party oversight board would be established. This board, composed of judges, civil liberties advocates, and technical experts, would review all requests for data. The AI algorithms would be audited regularly by independent researchers. Any information obtained would be subject to strict legal standards before it could be used in prosecutions. It was bureaucratic, cumbersome, and would likely slow investigations considerably. But it was also politically viable. Patel publicly endorsed the compromise, though sources close to him suggested he was frustrated by the limitations. Musk, characteristically, tweeted that it was better than nothing, but not as good as it should be, satisfying absolutely nobody. The modified program was scheduled to launch in pilot form in early 2026, limited to specific types of cases and subject to quarterly congressional review. The unanswered questions, yet fundamental questions, remained unresolved, hovering over the entire affair like a dark cloud. Had the meeting between Patel and Musk been the beginning of something larger, or had the leak derailed a plan that would have gone much further? Were there other similar arrangements being negotiated with other platforms that the public didn't know about? How many people had already been surveilled before the program became public? And most troubling, in a world where the line between online and offline life had essentially disappeared, where every thought potentially became a digital record, what did privacy even mean anymore? These weren't abstract philosophical questions. They were urgent, practical concerns that would define the relationship between citizens, technology companies, and government for generations. The personal cost. The controversy took a toll on both men involved. Patel, once seen as a rising star in conservative politics, found his reputation permanently marked by the affair. To supporters, he remained a hero willing to fight dirty against a dirty system. To critics, he had revealed authoritarian impulses that confirmed their worst fears about the Trump administration. Musk faced a different kind of backlash. His carefully cultivated image as a maverick defending free speech was badly damaged. Advertisers who had tentatively returned to X fled again. User growth stagnated, then declined. Competitors sensed blood in the water. More personally, both men faced security threats. Protests outside FBI headquarters became common. Musk required enhanced security after credible threats. The polarization they had hoped to fight against had only intensified. In quieter moments, people close to Patel say he wondered whether it had been worth it. He had genuinely believed he was doing the right thing, finding a way to catch criminals who had learned to exploit the system's weaknesses. But the political cost had been enormous, and the actual results remained uncertain. Musk, true to form, showed no public regret. But those who knew him well noticed he had become more withdrawn, more cynical. The idealism that had driven his acquisition of X seemed diminished. The legacy. As 2025 drew to a close, the full implications of the Patel-Musk meeting were still unfolding. The compromise program was moving forward, albeit in limited form. But the larger questions about surveillance, privacy, and power in the digital age remained unresolved. What was clear was that a line had been crossed. The idea that tech platforms and intelligence agencies could work together at this scale was no longer theoretical. It was real, it was happening, and it would shape the future whether people liked it or not. Future historians would debate whether this represented necessary adaptation to new threats or a dangerous erosion of civil liberties. Legal scholars would parse the constitutional implications for decades. Tech ethicists would use it as a case study in corporate responsibility. But for the people living through it, the lesson was simpler and more personal. In the modern world, there was nowhere left to hide. Every word, every connection, every digital breadcrumb was potentially evidence, potentially dangerous, potentially permanent. The meeting between Kash Patel and Elon Musk hadn't created this reality, but it had revealed it, forced it into the open, and made everyone confront what we had become. And that confrontation was only beginning.